You're nominated, as we know, for the Vezina Trophy. Do you have an outfit picked out? Have you written a speech? Would you just wing it if you had to do a speech? Take us behind the scenes. How are you feeling about it right now?
I think it's still kind of weird at first. It hasn't really happened yet, and we're still in Sweden at the moment. And I think once we get on the road and start preparing in that way with our travel, I think it's gonna kind of hit me a little bit more. But we got everything in order. Got 2 fits going in there. Got a speech prepared. I gotta thank Miss Patrice Bergeron to helping me out with that a little bit. Being probably 5 or 6 time Selke Trophy winner. You can learn a lot from those guys.
Linus, obviously, I knew you'd have a tight fit there. I was talking to Nick about it. I remember you always having the flashy suits, and I loved it. So going into this, right? I know for years we talked, playing with each other. I always had supreme confidence in you. I remember I've expressed that to you many times. I remember a game we played Florida. That was when Bobrovsky just signed his big deal. We beat him in a shootout, and I remember talking to you after the game, being like, "You are the next thing," right? Trying to explain it to you, and I believed in you. And what pushed you over the edge this year? What was that, kind of all came together? Like, you've had a lot of good seasons, but obviously this year was the one that, really separated you.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things. Obviously, you can't really pick and choose. It was just that thing. It's not that simple. But I think most of the things were that, for me at least, being a family guy, I love being around the family. You spend so much time away from the family that when your family is doing well and you don't have to worry about the situations that's going on off the ice, you can put more emphasis and more focus on what you're actually doing. So that's happened really this year, where my whole family was thriving. My wife Moa was having a time of her life. The kids were going to school as well, and it just felt like we were right at home. And there was no extra energy taken away from me when I was on the ice. So, and I felt the same thing when, during the COVID year, when I was just thinking about myself and playing hockey. That's the only thing they were doing, because my family was back home in Sweden. And I felt like, okay, this is how it feels when I don't have to worry. So it was kind of a situation where it felt familiar, but also very welcoming in the same sense. And working together with goalie Bob Essensa, which has been a terrific thing for me, at least. I had a lot of great goalie coaches throughout my career, but there's just something about that big fella that just feels right. He's we work together very well on a personal level, and for me that's a huge part of it. When you can set high standards and you know exactly what to expect out of each other, so there's no bullshitting coming out of your mouth when it comes to when you're looking at games in perspective, or when you're looking at games after the day after, stuff like that. So together with that whole recall thing that everybody's been on my bum about, I gotta say that's the golden trifecta.
It really has been tremendous, man. And you're being humble and modest, and it's so NHL goalie and so NHL player. Like, you even scored a goal this year, Linus, like February 25th, man. Like, what do you remember about that night? It was in Vancouver, right?
I gotta thank Hutz for that one, actually. Because the thing was too that during my days in Buffalo together with Hutz, I got to learn from the best when it comes to playing the puck and handle the puck and everything that comes in between. And it was mesmerizing, because I remember playing against Hutz as well the year before he came to Buffalo, and it was mesmerizing how good he was and the amount of plays that he was making left and right, center. And with age also, that swagger and the confidence comes to your game. So when the opportunity presented itself this year, I just took it and I sent it, and I've been dreaming about it. I've been practicing. I don't know how many times I've been practicing it, but everything just kind of came together at that particular moment.
Yeah, no, I can remember shooting pucks with you. I can never shoot it as hard as you could, though. You had that big slap shot too, and
yeah, no, that was the next thing that everybody was on talking about. Like, next time that there's the wrister is taken care of now, so either I got to go backhand or slap shot.
I like that. So we talk a lot about and hear about the power play of Toronto, and just in the NHL. So we've been talking a little bit about like how Florida had this run and Vegas had this run during the playoffs, and Toronto's power play and the dynamic forwards in the NHL now. Like, how do you see Toronto's forwards, Marner's, Matthew, Nylander, comparatively to, facing Florida, facing teams in the Atlantic Division, Tampa, and the power that comes now with this high-end offensive play in the NHL?
I think that Toronto and Tampa are pretty similar when it comes to how they're playing it, because there's so many dangerous options. When you look at Florida, for example, it wasn't like they had 5 guys that were all a threat, but they were also very good at, utilizing each other's strengths. But when you look at Toronto, or Tampa for that matter, you have Matthews, Kucherov, Hedman, Riley, Nylander, and the list goes on. And they are so skilled, so deceptive. So when you're assuming things, that's when it gets dangerous, because you're thinking that Matthews is going to shoot it and he makes the pass. You're thinking that Nylander is going to make the pass and all of a sudden he rips it. And that's what makes it so harder and so much more dangerous, is that you can't really read off of them as easy it is against other power plays. As hard as it is to save a Alex Ovechkin one-timer, it's easy to read that the play is going there, but the hard part is to actually save the shot. But with Toronto, once they start getting the puck moving up and down and front to middle, with Tavares up front, it's tough. It's quick, it's crisp, and there's a lot of one-tees that makes it harder to read the release.
And Linus, that's the incredible thing to me about this entire body of work in this season for you, is that for my money, you're going to win the Vezina Trophy playing in that division, which is a murderer's row. We reference. I mean, every team is fantastic. Even some of the lesser known teams like Ottawa and Detroit are coming up, and it's just a really, really strong division. I just wanted to ask you, what would a Vezina Trophy mean to you? How much pressure did you feel going into a city like Boston, knowing who was their number one goaltender for a long period of time?
I didn't feel any pressure, really. I had a lot of belief in myself. I know that I can play at a certain level. And for me, it was a nice opportunity to try something new. So I was looking forward and was pretty excited to come to an organization that was in a different time, or so I should say, compared to Buffalo at the time. They're an up-and-coming team now as well. But, Boston has been such an amazing team for so many years in a row now, that just to kind of experience it firsthand has been amazing. From the first day of signing, when I had a conversation with Bergie, to being 2 years in and having all these memories with all these guys. We had a fantastic last season, obviously during regular season, and it's been amazing. And I've had some conversations as well with Tukes ever since he retired, and he's always there. He's easy to chat with, easy to contact whenever you have any questions, and he's a former Vezina winner as well. And he's been, in my mind, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer as well. So it's nice to have a guy like that behind the scenes that you can talk to when it comes to the mental aspect of the game, for example.
Yeah, I think that's always important, right? As you grow, and we obviously took some bumps and bruises in Buffalo, and you developed into who you are today. And I think that's always part of the process, right? For me, I feel like when I was in the minors, I dealt with a lot of stuff and I grew into who I was. And I think about our connection we had. We obviously didn't have the success that you're having in Boston, but we had a good, working relationship, and we fed off each other well. And I watched this relationship that you and Swayman have, which is obviously amazing to watch. And he's one hell of a goalie as well. So after this great season, where do you guys grow together into this next season? And do you set goals coming into this season after such a remarkable season? Or is it just let's chip away and kind of, see where this leads us here?
I think that part is coming later, when I'm going to have a little sit down with Bob and talk about what to expect for the next season, because obviously there's going to be a way different kind of expectations laid upon me. And I think that the hardest part will be to meet those expectations now, compared to, before, when you were just playing and no one was really giving a crap about you. You was just there to win games, and they were more focused on the team aspect. But now, when you've had a stellar season out of, in a lot of people's eyes, nowhere, there's going to be more eyes, there's going to be more expectations to match those without, crumbling. on the mental aspect, because obviously I know that I have the skills to play here, and I have the skills and to be one of the top goalies in the league. But to sustain it is also a skill in itself, and that's going to be very. It's inspiring and motivating in a sense of way, because we also have Henrik Lundqvist that I've always looked up to when it comes to that, being able to sustain success and playing at such a high level for such a long time is mind blowing. With all of his season being plus 20 wins, once you start playing in the National League, that's when you realize, okay, this is hard. To get 20 wins, it's not a small feat. It's actually pretty amazing, because if you play 40 games and you win 40 or win 20, that's a 50% win streak. So you just want to have to keep building upon that and not to be too hard on yourself.
And as Hutch just referenced, I mean, having a good relationship with your tandem mate or your partner is so important, I think, right now in this day and age. And for my money, the best bromance in hockey is you and Jeremy Swayman. Taking nothing away from your relationship with Carter, of course. How does that compare to your time with Hudson Buffalo? And can you just talk about just the importance of that and how everything grew with Jeremy?
I think that my time with Huts was very, it was a very good experience in the sense of way that, I was a younger guy, Huts was the older guy, and took a little bit of a mentorship role for me, at least, and treated me with respect right from the start. We set our goals. We had a lot of, you could talk about everything, and there was never any ill will, towards each other. We know that, it's not the goalie that decides if he's going to play or not. It's the coach or the coaching staff. So why should I be pissed against or towards my partner when that happens? And, the way that, Carter was behaving and presenting himself, doing stuff off the ice, welcoming me and my family into their lives and their family. We have kids around the same age. It was important in the aspect that when I came to Boston, I took upon that role to be the same mentor for Sway, and try to include him into our lives and try to make him a part of our family. And he's even younger than I was, and so for him to feel safe in an environment where I am is something that I am very proud of, and that our relationship together has grown to be as strong as it is. I couldn't imagine it at first, but now it just feels like it was meant to be.